All right, we're live, folks. And as I mentioned on the last podcast that I just finished for CBN, I'm going to do an Ask Me Anything over here. And we're going to sort of continue our discussion. And I'm coming to you from the CBN studios here in Jerusalem, which is kind of fun for me. And it's definitely much easier than being outside and where it's loud and there's beeper guys and all that kind of stuff. So we should have One Tired Mama online and my wife and maybe even Nathan in Armenia. So we should be able to keep a pretty good handle on the haters and trolls here. But I wanted to just do a Ask Me Anything, okay? And so let's get started. If you have a question, put it in the comments here. Put it all in caps. Write the word question at the beginning, and that'll make it easier to see. Okay. So I'm going to go through these one by one. Joshua G asks, "Do you have an escape plan if things kick off?" I don't have an escape plan. I don't have a plan to escape Israel because I'm planning. I mean, I'm here to report on things if they kick off. I mean, that's the point. There's nothing worse than being a war correspondent and being here and there's no war. So I don't plan on leaving. I do have body armor sitting next to the door. We have a big pile of body armor in here. As a matter of fact, I tell you what. Hi, Kim. Thank you for being a supporter. I tell you what. Since we are on my live, I can do all kinds of fun stuff. Like I'm going to turn the camera around. Hey, MM. Thank you very much. Look at the studio here. I'm just going to show you around the studio. I think I need to clean my lens a little bit there on the back. This is the CBN studio in Jerusalem. Isn't this cool? And we've got all the lights and we've got several cameras up here. And there's nobody in the office. So I've got the whole office all to myself. And that means I can frolic around in here. But just wanted to show you the pile of body armor. This is all bulletproof vests or flak vests and helmets here with the word press on a sticker on the side, which I hate because people come up and go like, what does it do? Why does it say press? You know, get it? It's like the stupidest joke ever, and I've heard it 1,000 times. It's not funny anymore. Okay, so we're going to come back in here and turn this back around. And so that answered that question, I hope. I mean, there's a basement and a bomb shelter in my hotel. And if things got really bad, I could go down there, but I'm not planning on leaving. Thank you very much for the donations, folks. If you'd like to donate, just real quick, you can go over to the chuckholton.com and you can subscribe over there and support my work. I really appreciate that. That helps me be more independent of YouTube. And YouTube takes like 30% of what you give here. So if you give over there, we get more of it, and that helps more. Either way is fine, but whatever works for you. But we really do appreciate your donations, and we try to put them to good use. We try to help our single mothers in Colombia. We try to help people here in Israel, and we're trying to get Oscar over here. So people have been asking if Oscar Blue Ramirez is here yet. He's not here yet, but he's coming. He's just had to get everything in order. I think we have raised about enough money to get him here, although it's really expensive right now to get here. I bought a one-way ticket into Israel just to get here, and it was about $3,000 one way to get here. And because I got the last seat on one of my flights, a flight out of London, and I had to buy like a premier economy seat or something. Normally I fly in the back, I fly economy, and I get upgraded to first class once in a while just because of my miles. But anyway, I saw last night a lot of launcher car I just lost it. Is the U.S. in for a threat they are not prepared for? Karen Kennedy asks. No, I don't think so. I think the United States is going to get directly involved when this attack comes. If I had to guess, right? They did in April. They got involved and they shot down a bunch of rockets, missiles, and drones. They're not going to put troops on the ground or anything like that. No need to do that. The United States can inflict all the damage they want with our precision-guided missiles that actually are precision-guided. And we can inflict a lot of damage without putting our troops at a lot of risk. So, yes, the U.S. is going to get involved when this kicks off. And they will get involved militarily, but it's not going to put our troops at a lot of risk. I heard it mentioned, V. Parker says, that Iran might be waiting until 8/9 to attack. Is this true? If so, why? That's a very good question. There is a Jewish holiday called Tish B'Av. This is the month, if I get, now, I'm not the expert on Israeli stuff, and I got a lot of people here in Israel who are watching this right now, and so I'm going to get flamed, I know, because I'm not going to get it exactly perfect, but I'm going to give you the overall. The month of Av is like the month I just spaced, like tragedies. And it's where and Tish B'Av, which is the 9th, is the day that Jews remember the tragedies which have befallen their race, especially in the Old Testament. And so it's sort of a symbolic move if they attack on Tish B'Av, because it's the day of tragedies and calamities and lament, as Chuck Freeman says here. And so the Iranians and Hezbollah are basically saying, we'll give you something to lament about, to lament over. And so maybe it will. Maybe they will do that. We don't know. So I'm backing up here. I'm trying to not miss too many questions, but man, you guys are just killing it with questions here. Is EMP use likely by Iran and its proxies? Well, it is. There's a non-zero chance of EMPs being used, Jeff, but I don't think it's likely. I think it's possible. The Iranians probably don't have their own EMPs, but who does? The Russians. And Sergei Shoigu, who's a Russian general, and now he's a Secretary of Defense or something of the War Cabinet or something like that in Iran, in Russia, visited Tehran yesterday and delivered some, they believe, Iskander missiles, which are missiles that don't have enough range to get from Iran to Israel, but they could be used as air defense missiles, and they also can carry EMP warheads. The more concerning thing is that an Ilyushin-76, an IL-76 cargo plane from Russia, today also landed in Lebanon. And if a Russian cargo jet landed in Lebanon, there's a good chance that the Russians are delivering missiles and electronic jamming equipment to Hezbollah, which could make it harder for Israel to strike back when this attack comes. So that's not a good development. That's bad. And I've been saying that we're already in World War III. Hi, Kim. If you doubt that we're already in World War III, look, Russia is getting directly involved here with the with this conflict now. They are providing weapons, they're providing support, and they're directly supporting Iran and Hezbollah. So this is not a good sign. We've also found out that the Russians are in Yemen helping the Houthis to target ships and maybe not target certain ships. And so it is possible that an EMP comes out of Iran somehow and hits Israel. I think it is more likely that an EMP would be used by Israel on Iran. So I think it's not probable in either case, because these are very complex weapons and stuff, but it is possible. So there is a possibility of an EMP being used in war for the very first time in history here in the next several days. Should we be worried about running out of something? Shoot. Oh man, you guys are just killing it here. What's your assessment of negotiations being successful? That's my assessment of negotiations being successful. Nobody wants to negotiate. Why is Scott Ritter so dumb? Scott Ritter is a paid shill, and so he is pandering to his base. Look, I learned a long time ago that if you set out to be controversial and set out to be kind of a conspiracy theorist, there is a large subset of people in the United States who love that stuff and will follow you till the cows come home. And you can build yourself a platform by being a conspiracy theorist, by being an Alex Jones or somebody like that. You can build yourself a base that way, and all you have to do is just keep fueling the fires of hatred and fueling the fires of suspicion about the government and everything. I personally would rather do just the opposite. I would rather give you the straight facts as I understand them in such a way that it helps you be a little less anxious, not more anxious. Some people really they get off of being anxious. They really like being all wound up and just angry and setting their hair on fire and running around in circles. And some people really just thrive on that. I'm not one of those people, and I don't want to pander to people like that. I want to give you real facts that will help you have a true understanding of what's actually happening over here in whatever conflict I'm covering, so that you don't feel so bad about it when you get off this live. Does that make sense? So that's what I'm going to try to do. What's up with the buttstock? I don't know what buttstock you're talking about. Okay, thank you for subscribing. What is the best channel to watch and the most current honest news daily dealing with Israel? Well, I would like to think CBN is good for that. I'd like to think Amir Tsarfati is good. The Israel guys put out some good stuff. Also, I think it's War Mapper on YouTube does a pretty good job at covering this stuff as well. So there's some, but if you haven't subscribed to this podcast, I highly recommend you do that. Question, do you think Israel might attack a very visible target like the oil export port in Tehran for the visible humiliation and distraction? That's a very good idea, and that's what they did in Yemen. Look, if Israel is going to attack something in Iran, they're not going to attack civilian targets. They're going to attack things that hurt Iran. And so, yes, I think that's a very good idea. Including hotel. Heather Margaret says including hotel. I think she means the $3,000. No, that's not including hotel. That was just a one-way plane ticket just to get me here was $3,000. I still haven't bought a ticket home yet. I normally always say, I always buy a round-trip ticket, meaning I'm not planning on dying here. I do plan on going home. But in this case, just getting here was hard enough, so I just bought a one-way ticket just to get here. I don't even know how long I'm going to end up being here, and so it didn't make sense to buy a return ticket because I would just end up having to change it and pay a change fee anyway. So how to survive from radioactive if Israel attacks the nuclear site? Well, Persian Quantum, don't be near it. That's the best way to survive it. If you are near an Iranian nuclear site, it would be a really good idea to go visit relatives somewhere else right now for the next couple of weeks, perhaps. That would be a really good idea. And if you can't go see somebody else and they do blow something up, you're going to want to seal yourself in a room as much as possible and put plastic up, tape it up, be careful drinking the water. But the best idea is to get out of the area, okay? So there's my best answer to that one. I'm trying to get the way that these pop up. They don't really pop up in order that they were asked. So if I missed your question, I'm very sorry. I'm trying to get to them. Do you think the threat of the U.S. involvement will deter Iran at all? I think it will deter them somewhat. But see, Iran's got three choices here. They can go all in and attack Israel and hope that they destroy Israel to the point that Israel cannot retaliate. That's not very likely. Or they can try for some kind of a limited strike and hope to damage Israel and get their point across without actually killing a bunch of Israelis, because if there is some level of killing Israelis that would spell doom for the Iranian regime. And so they want to, make it hurt Israel as much as possible, but not actually, go too hard to make Israel go too hard against them. Okay? And the third option is to do nothing, but their pride won't let them do that. So I'm thinking that the middle option is probably the one that they're going to choose. Okay, so let's go here. Question, is it true the USA just deployed 4,000 soldiers to the Middle East? They deployed more sailors to the Middle East. I have not seen where they deployed soldiers to the Middle East. If they did increase the number of soldiers, there are already more than 40,000 soldiers from the United States in the Middle East. Soldiers, sailors, airmen, guardsmen, and Marines. And we have troops in almost every country in the Middle East, except for Iran. We have bases here in Israel. We have bases in Jordan. We have bases in Syria, in Iraq, in Saudi Arabia, in Qatar, in Kuwait. I mean, on and on and on. We've got people all over this area. So, 45,000 troops in this region already. And we did move some more Navy ships in here. We've got, I think, 3 carrier groups that are sort of assigned out here now. Yeah, we've got a lot. But I have not heard about them sending soldiers, and they certainly are not putting soldiers on the ground here already. Chuck, does the Israeli army have a special praise unit? I don't think so. That's a good question, Larry. I don't know about that. I think they do have... Yeah, Yair Pinto is good. I watch Yair, and I would like to meet him. He seems like a really good guy. I probably could meet him if I just got some time to go walk over there, because the TBN studios are just a couple blocks from here. But I haven't had a chance to do that yet. You can also go follow my friend Eric Stackelbeck. He's got a large channel and does daily lives like this and does a very good job. And he has a very deep understanding of Israel, because that's been his only beat for many years. So I recommend his site as well. We met Amir Tsarfati. I'm following Amir Tsarfati. Can you get out via boat? No, I cannot. Okay, question. Is your wife happy with you being in Israel? She understands this is my job, and she doesn't sweat when I go places like this, because I've been doing it for more than 20 years. And I have a lot of life insurance, so I'm worth more dead than alive to her. But no, I'm joking. I'm joking, dear. I know I'm not worth more dead than alive. But I miss her a lot. I like to have her with me when I travel, but this time she's not here because she's just had a lot to do, and so she went back to our home in Panama. Question, would Israel take this opportunity to take out Iran's nuclear capability? Very likely, Jaybird. Very likely that could happen. Why would Iran hit the forces in Iraq first and not Israel? Well, the forces that are in Iraq are American forces. Okay, we've got American troops at Ali al-Salam Air Base, Ain al-Assad Air Base. I think, well, one of those actually is in Kuwait. Nevertheless, there were 5 strikes that I know of in the last 48 hours on American sites in Iraq. They're al-Assad Air Base, and there were some injuries. Some U.S. troops were hurt in those strikes, mostly like traumatic brain injury and stuff like that. Those strikes were not carried out by Iran directly. They were carried out most likely by Iranian-backed militias. I say most likely because they haven't claimed it, but everybody kind of knows that it's them. Okay? All right, so going back to where do you think Saudi Arabia is in all this? Well, they put out the word. Saudi Arabia is on Israel's side, if you can believe that, because the Saudis hate Iran. And Saudi Arabia put out the word today that if Iran fires any missiles over Saudi territory, the Saudis will shoot them down. This is a step further than they have gone before because they have, hi Diane, good to see you. Yes, Oscar is coming. It's further than than Saudi Arabia has gone before. On April 13th, when Iran attacked Israel, the Saudis shot down some of those or participated in shooting down some of those missiles. But this time, they didn't say they would do it. They just did it. This time, they're actually saying ahead of time that they're going to do it in direct contravention to the warnings that they've received from Iran not to do it. And so this is good. This is probably will sort of box in Iran a little bit. What if Iran develops a nuclear weapon? Good question, Clarence Thompson. If Iran develops a nuclear weapon, first of all, we're going to know about it before they can use it. That's my understanding of how these things work. Because in order to develop one, they have to do some testing. That testing is discernible by some of the instruments that we have, some of the technology that we have. So we would be able to discern that they were testing a nuclear weapon before they used it. It is possible that they could test their nuclear weapon on Tel Aviv, but then they don't know if it's going to actually work or not. And if it didn't work, if it did work or if it didn't work, either way, Iran is going to go up in a cloud of smoke and turn into a glass parking lot. Because I asked on the YouTube channel, I did a poll yesterday, how many submarines do you think Israel has? So put it in the comments. How many submarines do you think Israel has? And, is it one? Is it 100? Is it none? How many do they have? Suffice it to say that they have enough submarines that can carry nuclear missiles that if Iran developed a nuclear bomb and was able to deliver it into Israel, which is not likely right now, and even if they could, the likelihood that they would is not likely. But if they did, those nuclear missiles that are on the 8 submarines, there's your answer, 8. The 8 submarines that Israel has would absolutely obliterate Iran. So if you're watching me from Iran right now, you better hope and pray that the Iranian regime is not stupid enough to, number one, develop a nuclear bomb, number two, actually use it. Because nuclear bombs do not work as a weapon of war. They only work to destroy your own country if you try to use it that way. Okay? Yes, they have 8 Dolphin-class submarines, and they are deployed around different places. Thank you, Bright Eyes. Very kind of you. If you have a question, go ahead and put it in the chat box here. Will Iran use equipment Biden left behind? That is a very good question. It's from a study of you. You're obviously referring to the equipment that was left behind in Afghanistan. Now, Afghanistan and the Taliban, the Taliban and Iran sometimes work together, sometimes not. It's not unlikely, it's not impossible that Iran might have purchased or somehow acquired some of the equipment that the United States left behind, $86 billion worth of U.S. military equipment. Remember that when you vote in November, that we left behind. Now, all of that equipment is durable and fungible, by the way. So, yes, it will be shooting back at us from someplace at some point in the future. It might be 50 years from now, but it will be attacking the United States. There will be Americans who likely die by that military hardware that was left behind in Afghanistan. Whether or not it's going to be used by Iran, I would say it's possible, but not likely. Why? Because it's not compatible with the stuff Iran already has. They don't have anybody to train them on it, right? So if they get a Black Hawk helicopter from Afghanistan, because we left a bunch of those behind, getting somebody who knows how to fly it, not that easy. Getting spare parts for it, virtually impossible. So I think while it is possible, it's not likely, okay? Okay, hit the like button. All right, let's keep asking questions here. What intel does the U.S. currently have on developing terrorist plots within our country? Well, we've seen in the news just in the last day or so that the Biden-Harris administration allowed more than almost 100 known terrorists, people on the terror watch list who crossed the border illegally, were picked up by Border Patrol, and then were released into the United States. So there's 100 known terrorists running around the United States right now doing God knows what, and we don't know where they are. So the likelihood of us having a terror attack in the United States is very high. And even the FBI says so, okay? You guys are all correcting me on the Dolphin-class submarines. Yeah, okay, all right. You guys can read the comments there. I'm doing all this off the top of my head without notes, so have a little grace. What do you think of the Russian subs suspected in the Gulf off the East Coast and the relationship Russia has rekindled with Cuba, having ships in port, from what I understand? We don't need to worry about that a whole lot. Russia is not a threat to the United States at the moment. Russia's capabilities militarily have been severely degraded over 3 years of war in Ukraine. They likely will not be a serious threat to the United States for a generation. They still have nuclear weapons, yes. They wouldn't be stupid enough to use them, let's hope. They do have submarines off that go up and down off the coast all the time. They have been doing training exercises with Cuba and Venezuela. Those are just training exercises. That, one submarine is not going to do much to damage the United States, okay? It's not something we really have to worry about. If you saw the rest of the Russian Navy heading to the United States or crossing the straits up there into Alaska or something like that, then I would get a little worried. But you don't have to worry about Russia attacking the United States. Our biggest threat to the United States is from within, and it's mostly from our own government right now, I would say. Regarding Skamala, what do you think look like for U.S.-Israel defense policy if she wins? I know people here are worried about that, Dan. Obviously, Kamala Harris is not going to support Israel even to the extent that Joe Biden has, which is not that great. Now, there's a lot of reasons that we could point to prove that, but I think it's kind of self-evident. And so I'm not going to spend a lot more time on that. What do you know about Harris' VP pick from Minnesota government? I know he's very, very against Israel. He did stand up at the beginning of the war for Israel's right to defend itself, but since then he has been pretty negative on Israel and has been very supportive of the pro-Hamas crowd. They're trying to paint him as some, sort of aw shucks kind of, country boy, veteran kind of thing. But this guy's a diehard socialist and is, if anything, further to the left than Kamala Harris. How close is UK to civil war? Looks like a mess there. Civil war requires organization. And so, S.D. Melcher, I don't think the UK is close to civil war in terms of, two groups of people that are duking it out in kinetic battle, something like that happening. If you want to say civil war in terms of the Muslims in the UK banding together and rioting in the streets and, that sort of thing, and the, white people in the UK banding together and rioting in the streets, we're already there. That's happening. I guess that's the best answer I can give you. Ducky3 says, can EMPs be used to down the drones? Yes, they can. EMPs can down drones. EMPs fry anything with electronic circuitry that's not shielded. Most drones are not shielded. Question, could Israel retaliate with nukes if Iran kills thousands when they attack Israel? Not likely, but not impossible. If they killed 50,000, then we're talking a lot more possible. That's why I'm saying, look, Israel is not going to lose this war. They're just not. Israel will not lose this war because they have nukes to resort to if it gets bad enough. But it won't get that bad. I'm telling you, you need to go back if you didn't watch it and watch the live that I just did on CBN's YouTube channel, because I laid out the reasons why this impending attack on Israel is not probably going to be as bad as everybody thinks it will be. Because a lot of the missiles are not going to work. A lot of the missiles that work are not going to make it to Israel. A lot of the missiles that make it to Israel are going to get shot down. And a lot of the missiles that make it to Israel and don't get shot down are going to strike something that doesn't really matter, like a farmer's field. So there's a very, very, very small percentage of the rockets and missiles and drones that come across that are going to actually hit something of value. And they're going to have more things destroyed than they've had so far, which has been very little. They're going to have more property destruction than they've had before, more fires than they've had before, yes, but it's not going to destroy Israel. The most powerful missiles that Iran has could only take out maybe a third of a city block if they manage to hit Tel Aviv, which, again, they'd have to get through that Iron Dome system to do so, and that's not real likely. Question, what is Turkey's role with Israel? Also, we have an Air Force in Turkey. Turkey is threatening. They have threatened, Erdogan has threatened to send troops. They're one of the few countries that actually has a semi-capable military that is expeditionary, that could actually get troops here because they could just go by water. I don't think they have enough ships or anything to actually do that in the numbers that would matter. And those ships would probably get blown out of the water before they even got here. So it's mostly bluster. Erdogan is known for his bluster. And so they are supporting Hezbollah in all this, but likely not going to be directly involved. There's also the issue of Turkey being a part of NATO, and if Turkey attacked Israel, they probably would not be in NATO anymore. So Joel Henderson says, how do we get care packages to Israeli soldiers? Well, I know that the guys at HaYovel are still collecting up stuff to give to people who need it, soldiers and guardsmen alike, that sort of thing. And so you can go to serveisrael.com, www.serveisrael.com, and you can donate there, and they will get the equipment to the people who need it. So let's back up here. What do you think could happen to the U.S. for Israel standalone? Sorry, I don't understand your question, Bright Eyes. Do you have a recommendation of a company that has safe equipment we can purchase in case of an EMP attack in the USA? I'm sorry, I don't, not off the top of my head. But I would warn you that trying to build your own Faraday cage probably will not work unless you really know what you're doing. There's a great book on the subject if you're really interested in that sort of thing. It's called Survival Theory 2. Survival Theory 2. It's by a former SEER instructor, and you can read Survival Theory 1, but that's very, very basic stuff. Survival Theory 2 goes into a lot more of those sort of technical details. Chuck, let's see here. What's another? I already got that one. Do you have EMP protection personally? No, I don't. You mean here in Israel? I have a Faraday bag for my phone, but I don't have it with me, and I don't think it's a big risk I'm taking. If everything gets fried, you won't hear from me for a while, and you'll hear from, the news that there was an EMP, but that doesn't mean that, we're all going to die here or anything. We can live without power for quite some time. What is Turkey's role with Israel? Okay, we already asked that one. Let's back up. Backing up. Who do you think is actually making the military decisions in the U.S.? Wow, I think an unelected cadre of people that are handling Joe Biden in the White House are really the ones that are calling the shots. People like Valerie Jarrett, and things like that. And so that doesn't fill me with confidence, but if our military were allowed to do its job, we would not have a lot to worry about. Does the Iron Dome have the capability to target larger ordnance over the smaller ones? Tracy Hill, that's a very good question. Yes, it does. My understanding of the Iron Dome system is that because the Iron Dome system is made up of a lot of different types of rockets, so you have the actual Iron Dome rockets, you have David Sling, you have the Arrow rockets, you have Patriot missile batteries. They all are slightly different systems, and some of them can target the more dangerous missiles, the ballistic missiles or the cruise missiles over the little drones and stuff like that, okay? Please go hit the like button, folks, and subscribe to this channel. It really does help YouTube know that more people ought to be seeing this content. Okay, so Adonai777 says, could the Russian air defenses be for the reactors? Yes, they could. And the Russian air defenses are quite a bit more technologically advanced than the other stuff that the Iranians had, most likely. But they probably still are not advanced enough to go up against U.S. or Israeli technology. And this is one thing that has not yet been tested in Ukraine to a great extent, because the Ukrainians don't have the latest technology like F-35s and F-22s from, in their fight against Russia. So we have yet to see F-22 Raptors going up against Russian EMP or, anti-jamming radars or anything like that. And so it'll be interesting to see what the outcome is. And I can guarantee you a lot of people in the Pentagon are watching very closely to see who comes out on top in that thing. Which is better aircraft, the Raptor F-22 or the F-35? My understanding, Andrew, is that the F-22 is a better aircraft, and that's why we don't share it with anybody. Nobody has the F-22 except the United States, and for the time being, it's going to stay that way. That's my understanding. Do you think Iran will wait and attack August 12th because of this date of the 9th of Av? Same date both temples were destroyed and considered. Yes. That question was already asked and answered, so you can go back and watch it for that one. Okay, you got that one. Russia has hypersonic missiles, does Iran? Yes, they do. There's a hypersonic missile that Iran has developed that it is not tested yet, and it will likely be tested when they attack Israel. The thing about those hypersonic missiles that you have to understand is that they're not as big and bad and scary as they're made out to be. Yes, they fly very fast. Actually, technically, most intercontinental ballistic missiles are hypersonic, but these ones are even faster, means they can get here quicker, but it does not necessarily mean that they cannot be shot down. That has been proven in Ukraine already. The Ukrainians have shot down some of Russia's hypersonic missiles. So it is... Okay. Question, can the Iron Dome protect against a nuclear blast deployed from space? No, it cannot. But the Arrow system can shoot down ICBMs in space before they explode. But if a nuclear-tipped ICBM were to explode in space, it's too late. You can't shut it down. Neil makes a comment, Iran has 3,000 missiles that have a flight time circa 12 minutes. Okay, so you're not quite correct on that. I did some research on this, Neil, and Iran has only about 1,000 missiles that have the range of more than 1,000 kilometers, which is what they would need to get them to Israel. Okay, so if Iran wants to fire missiles out of Iran proper and get them into Israel, they are going to need missiles with a range of more than 1,000 kilometers. And they only have about 1,000 of those kind of missiles. Again, those numbers still apply. Only about 70% of those missiles are probably working. Only about, of those 70%, they can only fire a certain percentage of those at one time, maybe about a third of those missiles. Some of them are going to be duds and are not even going to make it into Israel. Of the ones that do make it into Israel, some of them are going to get shot down. And of the ones that don't get shot down, some of them are going to land in things that don't matter. And so it's a very, very small number of them that will actually need to be worried about. Question, do you reckon Sinwar is abroad, hostages as well? No, I think Sinwar is still in Gaza. It's just my sense. How are you able to be prepared for extensive power outage when you're not on your home turf? Well, I can survive without power. I'm drinking water here. I have a bed to sleep in. It might be hard to get into my hotel room if there's no power because it has one of those little beep, where you have a little key card or something like that. But the apartment that I'm renting next week is, decoy missiles are meant to get shot down, not reach target. Well, they would have to get shot down inside Jordan or Iraq or Saudi Arabia. Now, you could say that Iran could transport a bunch of their missiles into Syria where they could be fired from close enough to make it to Israel without having to fly 1,000 kilometers. That is possible, and they have certainly done that with the Hashishabi, the Iranian-backed militias there. And that's one of the reasons why they maintain their proxies in Lebanon, in Yemen, in Iraq, and in Syria. Okay? So, that certainly is possible. And I'm not saying that this is not a serious moment. We certainly know this is a very serious, probably the most serious moment so far in this war. But I just want you to get a better sense of the likelihood that Israel gets just demolished by these attacks. That is not likely to happen. Now, somebody, Ultra RMX says, is America ready for World War III? I'm making the case that America is already in World War III. I made this case yesterday. The world in World War II looked very different because people didn't have nuclear weapons. And the nuclear weapons changed the face of war. Once nuclear weapons became, distributed around the world, and we have nuclear weapons in almost all of the major countries, we can't have a war like World War II anymore because a war between nuclear-powered nations or nuclear nations that could go nuclear is just too dangerous. So World War III is going to look like the major powers fighting each other through their proxies. And when they fight each other through their proxies, that's exactly what you're seeing right now. Russia is supporting Iran. They're supporting Yemen. They're supporting Hezbollah. The United States is supporting Israel. They're supporting Ukraine. This is what you call World War III. Okay? There's no coming back from nuclear war. That's right. And because there's no coming back from nuclear war, it's not that likely to happen because people know that. What's the mood of the Israeli people, especially the ultra-Orthodox Jews objecting to the requirement to serve? They're still objecting, and they still have to serve. The Israeli people think that they should serve, that are not ultra-Orthodox. The numbers of ultra-Orthodox grow very rapidly, much faster than the rest of the Israeli population. And that's a long-term problem for Israel because if they're not made to serve, they're eventually going to become the majority. And so you're going to have a very small minority of people that are serving in the military. And all these people who are reliant on them for their security. That's just not sustainable. And that's one of the reasons why they made this decision to force the ultra-Orthodox to serve like everybody else. Creston, what's going on in Jordan? Not much. General Kurilla, Michael Kurilla, the four-star CENTCOM commander, apparently spoke with his counterparts in Jordan and ensured that the Jordanians are behind Israel on this and that they will help shoot down missiles and stuff that come across their airspace, and even delivered to them, I believe, some U.S. like Patriot missile ammunition in order to help them shoot down things more effectively. Okay, so question: what will the Iron Beam be able to do? Well, I talked to a guy today who's working on that project. I'm going to go interview him as soon as this sort of blows over a little bit. He's obviously very busy right now. You can bet that any Iron Beam systems that are operational are going to be in the field as soon as possible. They need them. That's one of the reasons I think that Israel has not gone into Lebanon. And on that note, I just want to say that one other threat that Israel is having to face is the threat of incursion. That is, Hezbollah fighters and other jihadis coming across the border into Israel en masse, hundreds and hundreds of them, creating something like October 7th. And they are apparently setting up checkpoints on the roads going to the Golan Heights because of that, to guard against potential incursions from Hezbollah fighters. So this could be really bad. Can you recommend a basic resource to help me understand the foretold aspects of Russia, Iran, and the many enemies facing Israel? I'm going to put that question out to the group that's watching. I know there are a lot of people here who have read a lot about the prophetic aspects of this conflict. And so if you have a good book, put it in the comments for us, would you? Trump mentioned wanting to build our own Iron Dome in the United States. Do you think it's necessary, and where would it likely be situated? No, I don't think it's necessary. I think that it would be untenable to build and maintain an Iron Dome system over the whole of the United States. It's just too large. We've got too much border. There's without counting the sea borders, just counting land borders, north and south, you're talking about 6,000 miles of borders. That's not tenable. It costs a lot of money to maintain those systems. And honestly, what are the chances that Mexico or Canada is going to shoot missiles at us? Now, if somebody shoots an ICBM at us, like North Korea or something like that, and we can see it coming, we would have time to scramble jet fighters and go up there and shoot down those missiles. So we don't really need a set Iron Dome system that can shoot down things in seconds, because there's nobody close enough to us who can shoot at us like that, okay? Okay, I am running down here. Question, who allied with the USA on Israel's side? Okay, so the UK, France, Jordan, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, the United Arab Emirates. I said the UK and France. Let's see. That might be about it. You could maybe throw the Kurds in there, but they don't have any resources to really help in this conflict. And there are likely more, but those are the immediate ones who have already worked together in defending Israel. If the United States were to put troops on the ground and get directly involved, how would that affect the election? Well, the Americans wouldn't put up with that. And the Biden administration knows it, so it's not going to happen. Somebody, I think Amir Tsarfati posted today that the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, said that if Iran attacks Israel, that the United States will declare war on Iran. I have not been able to find any, I've not been able to find any corroboration of that. I don't think that actually happened. If it did happen, that'd be interesting. But if we go to war with Iran, it's not going to be with troops on the ground. We're just going to bomb them into the Stone Age. That's all. So I wanted to just say hello to Alta Carpenter Grimes, because you've been a member for 6 months, and I appreciate your membership. Thank you very much for that. Are you getting enough rest? No, I am not. It is 10:04 over here, and I am certainly not getting enough rest, but I plan to get some rest tonight, because tomorrow I'm going to go up north, and we're going to see what happens up there. Do you think that the USA will retaliate against Iraq for rocketing the airbase in Iraq? It wasn't Iraq that did it. It was the Iranian-backed militias in Iraq, which the Iraqi government doesn't have control over. And yes, we have already, retaliated in the sense that we bombed the people who bombed us, I believe. They don't talk about it a lot when that happens. How long does it take for them to set up the air defenses? They're constantly set up. You're talking about the Iron Dome. It's on. It's always on. Do you think the USA will retaliate against Iraq for rocketing? Oh, okay? We already got that. Okay. How do the U.S. protect itself from ICBMs launched from a converted container ship in the Gulf of Mexico 12 miles out? Very good point. Never give up, Philippines. If that were to happen, we don't have a lot of ways to defend against that. But again, okay, so the largest ICBM is going to destroy maybe a city block, unless it's nuclear. If it's nuclear, it could destroy a good portion of a good-sized city. It's not going to, one nuclear bomb's not going to destroy America. Okay, and so any country who tried to fire a nuclear ICBM at the United States from a ship someplace is going to get vaporized. And if you think that they're going to do it like out of a Bourne movie or something, and nobody's going to know who did it, yeah, the United States is going to know in hours who did it, and they will retaliate. What is an EMP? An EMP is an electromagnetic pulse. It's a electronic blast that fries anything electronic in its blast radius. Do EMP blasts affect the electronics in military aircraft? Not really, because most of those have been hardened against that. You can harden electronics so that they are not susceptible to EMP. A high altitude EMP would crash our grid, wouldn't it? Yes, it would, Dean. There's a couple of good documentaries about that. One of them was put out by National Geographic, and I forget what it's called, but it talks about what would happen if we had a generalized power outage for I think it was 10 days, something like that. And it estimates that 4 million people would die in the United States. I mean, crazy. You should go watch it if you haven't seen it. It's on YouTube, I think, or maybe on National Geographic's website. Why no preemptive strike? Well, they have actually been striking. The IDF has been striking preemptively or postemptively, I guess. They've been hitting anything that they can find that looks like a threat. So they've been blowing up stuff all day long. They killed at least 13 terrorists in the West Bank today, much less the ones that they killed in Lebanon today, and they killed more in Gaza today. They are striking whatever they see. Now, they're not striking Israel directly. That's one thing that they have not done yet. And why? Well, they want to maintain the moral high ground, I think. That's the only reason I can see why they wouldn't do that. I'm thinking that at this point, the moral high ground would include attacking Iran, but that's my own opinion on that. Did the GPS jammers have an effect on incoming weapons when deployed in the past? I believe so. Need any moderators? Not right now. We got 3 of them online. I think we're in good shape. What's the size of area affected by an EMP pulse? It depends, Tracy, on how powerful the EMP pulse is. If you have a high altitude EMP, like you would need a nuclear blast in space, and that could take out the entire power grid along the entire eastern seaboard, or something like that. Probably not over the entire United States, though. Folks, if you would please go to chuckholton.com and subscribe over there. There is some subscriber-only content. You can support my work. You can also subscribe for free and just get access to things that I can't show you on YouTube. There are videos that come out all the time, articles and stuff that if I put it on YouTube, they would demonetize me in a heartbeat. So I can put them up over there, and you can go to chuckholton.com and you can, join my locals page there and be a part of that. And I would appreciate it if you do that. Okay, it is 10 minutes after 10 p.m. here. So I would appreciate, again, if you would subscribe to the channel and like this podcast. That tells YouTube more people need to see it. Thank you very much for watching. I'm going to go to bed because I'm going to get up in the morning and drive north. And so let's hope that I get another quiet night. I slept with the window open and the AC off last night, so it was a little hot, but I wanted to be able to hear if the air raid sirens went off. With the air conditioner on in my room and me being hard of hearing, I would probably sleep right through the air raid sirens if they went off. So pray that if the air raid siren goes off, that I will actually wake up tonight. Okay. God bless you from the studios here in Jerusalem of CBN News. I'm Chuck Holton. Love you guys. We'll see you later. Take care.